Hi guys, welcome back to Bunny Brick Designs. So we're doing another wire wrap today while I'm in between curated bead box and bargain bead boxes. So I had done this pendant a while back, and I know I had showed it on one of my finished goods. I had said that I would do a tutorial on how to do something similar to this with a frame. So I thought I would do this purple today using copper because I think the purple will go well with the copper, and the browns in this stone would play off of the copper. And instead of doing a rounded bottom here, I was kind of drawing out on paper around my cab. I was thinking of maybe just taking and doing a twist at the bottom and going back up to kind of make it a point, or doing something where I would take my my wrapping and do something here like that as a point, and then coming up and around and maybe doing something like that, and maybe this comes over here. I haven't really decided exactly what I want to do. Again, I tend to be organic. So I'm probably going to be doing this in two parts. We're going to make the frame, and then we'll start doing some of the weaves in the first part. And then in the second part, we'll put it all together. So to start out, you need to make a frame. And I know trying to wrap wires around a stone tends to be tricky when the stones are not super, they're just not easy to, and I don't think I have one. So I'm looking for something specific here. I thought I had one. But I guess we can use this. So I made these little frames, put my logo on them, and they are to kind of help you, and I think we might use that one. They're to kind of help you make your frame. And I just don't have my one that's the right size for this. I don't know what I did with it. At any rate, you figure out the size, and then I can wrap around this. And because this has got a flat side, it makes it a lot easier than trying to wrap it around a cabochon. So anyways, I'm going to start out with 16 gauge wire. You can use 18, or you can go down as low as 14 if you want to hammer it. And I'm probably just going to do maybe, excuse me, a 12-inch piece. We'll do 14. Just so I know I have enough wire to make my wrap. And all I'm gonna do to make my frame, and I'm gonna actually do this here. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect as far as evenness. I'm going to start out on that side, and then I'm just going to finish it up because I do want this kind of round, and make it a little bit squarer so that it will be like this. It'll fit on the back of the cab. And you do want a little bit of space. Now, I don't know if I necessarily want that much, so I'm going to shrink it up just a little bit. I may take... That's probably the right width there, the 25-inch by 25-inch. And just make it round there and then make it round there and make it oval. And just kind of get a rounded shape as best you can that's going to fit around your cabochon. I'm guessing this one's probably going to be that would probably be the best one, but I don't want to point. Anyway, so that should be that should work, because now I've got a little bit of space. Again, if I need to, I can shrink that up just a little bit with my fingers. And see, that's perfect. Now, I'm just going to make sure that I have a little bit of room, because we are going to be weaving wires in there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my tweezer nose. Where are my tweezers? Tweezer nose pliers, my new favorite pliers. And I'm going to find the center point of where they join together. And so I'm just finding the center and just kind of making a mark where it's going to be. And actually that one, I don't want that there. I'm going to use a Sharpie here and just make a little mark there, just because I want to get this pretty perfect. Set my tweezer pliers right on that and do a bend and bend it straight up. And do the same thing on this one. Set it right on the bend and bend it straight up. So now when I put it together, and I did that, it is going to be a little bit wider because I do want space. And so I am going to put those together and kind of make sure. So what I'm doing is I'm going to make sure that these are at a straight 90-degree angle to each other, that they're not bent, because what I want is when you put them side by side like that, that you're going to wrap, and I'm just rounding here a little bit my shape, and see that is a little lopsided, so I'm going to adjust. And you can trying to just get it so that it's centered. And again, it doesn't have to be completely perfect. It's going to be on the back, but that looks pretty good to me. So that's pretty round. All right, so to get it to stay in place, I'm going to hammer just to kind of harden it a little bit. And I'm just going to tack it a little bit, just hammer it very gently, flatten it out a little bit. It'll help things stay in place. And again, we are going to, as you can see, once we wrap that, it will be good, and it will be around the stone. Now, you're probably thinking, well, my stone's not going to fit in that because it's too loose. But that's what we want, because we're going to be wrapping around, and this one kind of shifted when I was wrapping, so we'll try not to do that this time. To finish off my my base, I'm going to first take 21 gauge half round wire, and I'm probably going to cut a little bit off of my spool, just because I find it easier to cut off the spool. And I'm going to first start by wrapping it around one of the legs, and then I am just going to start twisting this, and I'm just going to turn my frame. I'm not going to twist. I'm not going to use this wire. I find that when I do this to make my bail, that I don't twist up the half round wire, because you can, if you twist the half round wire, you can end up turning it on its side. And as you can see, it's starting to twist. Don't worry, we'll fix that here in a second. So I'm just going to start twisting and keep twisting and keep twisting until I get a little ways, and then I'm going to take my flat pliers, and I'm just going to tighten that up. And as you can see, when you flatten it out, it flattens out quite nicely. And I'm going to continue on with this for maybe like an inch, half inch, inch. I want quite a big bail for this because we're going to be adding weaving wires and weaves to this. So there's going to be a lot of stuff that's getting added to the top of that bail. So I'm probably going to do an inch, maybe an inch and a half, maybe go about that length. And again, I'm just twisting, holding on to it with my thumb. So what I'm doing, and the reason why I've got it like this between my thumb and my index finger, is because I'm making sure it stays on the same side where the rounded side is up and the flat side is down. So again, I'm just going to continue to twist. And as you go along, it'll get faster. And yes, I know it looks like it's spiraling. Don't worry, we will fix that here when we are done with our twisting. Now you can occasionally push it down together. And if you don't trust it, you can come in and flatten it out like that. And then continue on. Or you can just do it all at once and smooth it out at the end. And I want to say welcome to all my new subscribers. Thank you for subscribing. It helps my channel. My goal is to get 1,000 subscribers or more. And so every subscriber helps, so thank you. All right, I think we're getting pretty close to what we need here. And so I am going to, again, smooth it out. Okay. And before I cut my wire off, I want to put it around my bail. Now I'm going to use the largest loop on my bail making plier. I'm just going to bend it forward and then bend it back down around. And as you can see, that's perfect. I'm just going to put a little bend in it there, just so when I finish bringing it around here, it is nice and big. And so now you can take your half round, and to secure it, you can just wrap a couple of times around both wires just to secure it in place so it's not going anywhere. It really isn't going to go anywhere. anyways, because we're going to be putting a lot of stuff on this. I'm going to stick my loopers in there because it's not quite as round as I want it to be. It kind of bent a little bit on me, but that's fine. And then once you've wrapped a couple of times, we can just cut off the half round. And actually, that was a little too long. And then I'm just going to tuck that in out of the way, just to get that out of the way. All right, so now we've got these two wires here, and I'm just going to start by separating them down so that it forms a V shape. So if you were to look at it this way, it's a V or a Y. And we need to get rid of that starting point wire that's there. I'm just going to do that and tuck that up in between there. Again, that will get covered. All right, so now, and this is the tricky part, because this wire is very stiff. What we need to do is we need to wrap this wire around our frame and make it so it's a point. And I'm going to do the same thing with this wire. And because I went on the outside here, I'm going to go on the outside here. And using your pliers for this really does help. Make sure it's nice and tight. And I really like these tweezer nose pliers for this. All right, so sorry about that, guys. My allergies are acting up today. So now I'm going to cut off, leaving a little bit of a end there, because again, I want to tuck this inside and have it so it's tucked in up against that wire and there's nothing sticking out. Now we're going to do the same on this side, leave a little bit of a tail. And tuck that in as well. And there we go. All right, so we have our frame. And it's rounded itself a little bit from, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my flat pliers and try to reshape that just a little bit. Just a hair. All right, so we've got that. It's shaped, and don't worry about it being slightly off or slightly, again, because nobody is going to be seeing that because we are going to be covering it. So we have our frame now, and there's our frame with our bail. And I'm just going to straighten this out a little bit because that, there we go. All right, so we've got our frame and we've got our bail. So the next step is going to be this three wire weaving, and we'll get that started here. And then depending on how long that takes, we may do the weaves on this one. I may do it all in this video, or I may wait and do it on another video. So I'm going to take 20 gauge round wire, and you can use square wire for this. You can use round. I usually like to use square when I'm doing weaving, but I'm going to use round on this one. So I'm taking, oh, let's see here. I'm going to do 20 inches. Probably not going to use all of that, but I always like to have extra of my wires, especially if I'm doing all the way around. And I'm going to cut 3 of those off of my spool. I get my wire from Rio Grande, my copper wire. I buy it in 1 pound spools, so they're, you know, pretty big. All right, so now that I've got my 3 wires, and as you can see, they're not straight, so I'm going to give them a nice straighten here. And now you can use this here, or you could use nylon jaw pliers if you have it. I just find that the nylon jaw pliers, you have to go over it several times, whereas this, because it hits all sides at once, you can make it as straight as you possibly can get it in one shot, versus 2 or 3 passes in the nylon jaw pliers. And I think I got this at Fire Mountain Gems. You can just search wire straightener. All right, so I have my wires, and I am going to start on my weave. But first, I am going to grab a another one of these. Like this one has silver on it from my last video. So I'm going to grab a new one because we're going to need a lot of copper wire. And I don't want to leave it on the spool. Again, because this is going to be a lot of weaving. So I'm going to wrap this. I'm going to pause you, and I will be back when I'm done wrapping. All right, I'm back. So I finished adding a bunch of wire to my spool. So to start out, I am going to take my wires, and I'm going to start on one end here. It doesn't really matter which. I'm just going to get this started by doing 2 wraps around the first wire. And this is, again, this is just to start it. This side isn't probably going to be seen anyways when we are doing, when we're putting it on, because it's going to be hidden in the wrap around the bail. I'm going to go twice around both wires. I'm going to come up in between wires 1 and 2 just for now. Now I'm going to bring in the 3rd wire. And so this weave is just literally a 2-2 weave. I'm going to go 2 around wires 2 and 3. And then I'm going to come down below everything and do 2 wraps between wires 1 and 2. So if I could get it to go between them, thank you, without bending my wires too much. And yes, because I've got such long wires here, it's going to be tricky getting in between everything to start out with. But in order to do the strip weaving and then add it in later, it's just a lot better to do it this way. Now, ultimately, you could start out with adding these to the frame, you know, and wrapping it around your frame. But I find that I could sit and do this, and instead of having it attached already to my cabochon, you know, if something happens, or, you know, I damage a wire, the wire gets scratched. I don't like the weave. I decide I don't like the weave pattern for the piece that I'm making. I can then just switch it out for another strip. So I'm just doing 2 around the top, 2 around the bottom, coming up between wires 2 and 1 and 2, going around the top 2 wires. And I'm kind of messy at the moment, but that's fine, because what we can do is every so often, you're just going to want to kind of squish them together and then take your flat pliers and flatten them out. And now you're just going to continue on for that for a little while. And I'm going to pause the video and I will come back when I have a little bit done. All right, guys, so I've done a little ways, so I'm just showing you here. I flattened it out. The back side looks a little different. It's got a 1-2 weave. And the front side. So again, I usually like to use square wire because square, it hooks to the weave a little bit better. But I mean, this is coming out pretty good. So I'm going to continue on until I have probably, I don't know, a good 4 or 5 inches. Because again, you've got to figure it's going to come from around there, weave around here, have to weave all the way around here, and come down to here where we're going to tie it off. So with that being said, I want to do at least this much before I attach it to my frame. So I'm going to continue on and I will be back. And depending on how long this video gets, we may finish up. I may end up doing the other weave with you, the 2-2 or the 2-5, and we'll get the weaves done and then put it together in the next one, because right now we're at about 30 minutes. So let me continue on and I will be back. All right, guys, I'm back. So in the process of wrapping, my wire broke. So I'm going to show you how to fix that. I was pulling apparently too hard and I actually cut my finger. So I've got it to the point where it's coming out between 2 wires. And the next step would be to come up between wires 1 and 2. So rather than do anything, I'm just going to come up between wires 1 and 2 with my new wire. And I am just going to continue on in my weave and continue going. Now I've got probably 2 inches. And so I'm just going to continue on for a little while longer now that I've got my wires back in. And now I'm not going to do anything with these hanging wires because we can use those to attach to the frame, seeing that, you know, we've already got, you know, dangling wires. We might as well use them to attach later on. So I'm just going to continue on here. And as you can see, I have flattened out to a point. And so I just continually scrunch. Ooh, and try not to do that when you're scrunching. Although it's easily straightened out. But I try to scrunch, make sure everything's nice and tight, and then flatten as I go. Again, when you're working with, and I have some here that I was working with before in square wire tends to be a little neater. And I'm debating whether I want to use this because it's not as neat as I'd like it to be. But we may use it anyways. My favorite is the 2-5 weave, but we'll continue on. And once I've gotten enough will join it up to the pendant. So I'm going to continue on and I will be right back. All right, so I've gotten about 3 inches, little over 3 inches, and I've ended where I'm coming out between wires 2 and 3. That's fine. I'm going to cut off this piece here that is coming out of my starting point, and then just make sure that's tucked in quite nicely. So we're going to attach this to our frame. And so what I want to do is I want to attach it so that it's coming out, and then we can S it around like we did in this one. So what I'm going to do is, and I still got plenty of wire, so I'm going to take this and right at my weaves, I'm going to make a bend like that. So it's a 180-degree bend. And this is just going to help you for the moment. And I'm just going to pull these weaving wires out of the way. And I'm going to stick that through my frame. Try to get all, and I'm going to stick it through my weaving wires. Now, it's not attached at the moment, but this is going to help you attach it. So we've got our wires here, and I want you to decide how high up on the frame you want it. And then you're just going to hold it with your thumb and index finger. And then we're going to take these wires and we're just going to wrap them around the frame. And that's fine if it sticks out like this, because again, we are going to bend it. You can use your pliers if you want, and I don't need all of that. So I am going to cut off just a little bit just to make it a little easier to attach to the frame. And then I'm just going to curl these and try to get those back through my frame, my bail one more time. And this can be a little tricky. So it's loose right now. It's fine. Don't worry. We are going to take one wire at a time, and I'm going to tighten that up. And if you want to go around a second time, just to tighten it up, you can. I am just going to pull these good and tight. And then that should be nice and sturdy. I am going to lift it up a little higher. I may go around it all the way around one more time just to make sure it's nice and secure. Like that. I'm going to cut off my excess because I want this just to tuck underneath. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to make it curve just a little. And then we're going to tuck it right up underneath that part of the bail. Get it in there really good. Make sure those wires are nice and tight up against the bail. And once you've tightened them, clean them up, neaten them up. Now that's really not going to go anywhere. It's pretty much attached. So we're going to start making our shape. And so I am going to come out. And again, if you wanted to go the other direction, you could. I am going to make it an S. And so what I'm going to do, and I'm trying to do this on camera, is I'm going to hold it with my thumb and I'm going to kind of just bend it around my thumb in a curl shape, trying to keep your weave flat. So you're going to want to straighten it out like that with your pliers. And so that makes a nice S in front of my bail. Okay, in the front of my bail. And now it is coming out, and it is right near the base of the frame. So I'm going to have it follow the shape of the frame just a little bit. And I'm going to put my cabochon in there because we're going to use this around the frame to catch the cabochon. Now, one side's not going to catch the cabochon. You're going to need to do both sides. But as you can see, that catches the cabochon. And I did want to do a S down here. Like I wanted to do a point. So what I may do is just do a few more weaves and attach this part to the frame and then come back up and do more weaves and attach it up here, back up underneath this guy to the bail. But I'm debating whether I want to do it and keep it and just do the bend with the wires and have it form like a little point and come back up, or if I want to do the weave. But at any rate, we're going to continue on. So I am just going to let my stone fall out. I'm going to lift this up. I'm going to go at least 3 or 4 more wraps. Because we are going to need to attach this to our frame down at the bottom as well, just to make sure everything stays in place. And as you can see, I always do squish and then flatten every few rounds. Only because I want to make sure that they stay neat and close together so that I have a nice tight wrap, tight weave. You know, the closer it is, the neater it is, the nicer your jewelry is going to look. The more polished it'll look. And I'm by far not perfect, so I'm still new to wire wrapping. I have made a few nice pieces, done a lot of... I like the weaving. More so, like, I've tried to make... you know, the jewelry where you just bend the wire into spiral shapes and make earrings out of it and, you know, put some beads in it. And I've done that and I've absolutely hated everything that I've done. I like wrapping cabochons. I like doing the weaving. So I've done pendants where it's nothing but weaving and putting a couple beads here and there. I'm not too big on the framing like this. I do some. And I've never done, and I really want to try a Tree of Life pendant. I just haven't. Just because Tree of Life actually scares me. I'll freely admit that. All right, so now I've gotten down, and as you can see, my wire's separated from where they were up here, but that's fine. I'm just pushing them up. And I'm going to end again in the middle, just so. So now I am down here. And what I was thinking was having this literally bend up back on itself and fold on itself. So what I want to do is, I'm thinking what I want to do is straighten this guy out. Let me tighten that up, squish that, flatten that. And then I want to straighten this down like that and literally bend it. And I'm debating whether I want to bend it backwards on itself and come up through. So let me see here. If I bend it back on itself, and I'm just trying to keep everything flat, and we bend it back on itself and go through the frame. So I'm going to try something. Never tried this before, so stick with me here. I think I like that. And we're just going to flatten that. I like that. I like that idea because that also gives me an attachment point there on the frame. And because we have not attached this, we can still, that's why I have not attached these wires. And so I like that. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach these. I'm going to cut these wires. We're going to do another weave. I'm going to cut these wires and just attach them to the frame right here. Just one time. Because we don't need it attached to too much. And I'm just going to curl those in. And push them up toward the... And see, I like that. All right, so that gets me my... that gets me my point that I wanted. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a second weave. And we're going to come up... so that's going to be there. We're going to do a second weave. We're going to come out from underneath here. I'm going to attach to the frame here. Come out from underneath here and curve up and go underneath here somewhere and attach. I think that's going to look nice. And then we will do some more weaving. So I'm going to end the video here. So we've gotten this far. And I'm going to pick up in the second video because now we're close to 40-50 minutes. So if you're following along with me here and you're doing this, if you want to continue on, take the remainder of these wires that we had cut and make your second weave strip. Then next week or next video, we will finish putting on the second weave and we will do the, we'll do some more embellishments and continue on. So anyways, so far we've done, 50% of our design and, I think it's looking really good. I can't wait to see this done. Again, I'm debating which way I want my cabochon to lay. Whether I want this dark blue on this side or the blue on this side. Like, I'm just not sure. But we'll figure that out before we actually completely secure it. But yeah, we're getting there. So anyways, thanks for watching and I will see you in the next one.